What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing that you can do for me on this channel. What that does is that it helps to ensure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching for quite some time now, please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platform to inform your family and friends of this news and information. And that also helps to give me a push in the YouTube algorithm as well. And with the introduction now out of the way, let's get into today's news. And for those of you who don't know, there was a huge victory for Donald Trump today in the Supreme Court with a 9-0 clean sweep Supreme Court ruling that Colorado does not have the right to remove Donald Trump from the primary ballot. And this ruling in turn nullified the state of Illinois and Maine's attempt to remove Donald Trump from the primary ballot as well. So what I want to do here very quickly is read about maybe less than a paragraph worth of information from this New York Post article, and then we're going to get into a news clip that's going to play Donald Trump's reaction to all this. The U.S. Supreme Court ordered former President Donald Trump back on the 2024 primary ballot in Colorado on Monday, the day before the Centennial State and 14 others picked their Republican nominee for president. The unanimous ruling also overturns disqualification orders handed down by officials and judges in Maine and Illinois in recent weeks. The unsigned order found that only Congress, not individual states, can disqualify candidates from federal office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, known as the Insurrection Clause or the disqualification clause. So now let's get into this video clip very quickly, or I should say this news clip, which is going to show us what Donald Trump had to say. So let's jump into this first.
Trump will be on the primary ballot. He spoke about that decision just moments ago.
I want to start by thanking the Supreme Court for its unanimous decision today. It was a very important decision. We're very well crafted, and I think it will go a long way toward bringing our country together, which our country needs. And they worked long, they worked hard, and frankly, they worked very quickly on something that will be spoken about 100 years from now and 200 years from now. Extremely important.
Fox's Caroline Shively has more from Washington.
In a unanimous ruling, the Supreme Court has weighed in on the 2024 election and says former President Donald Trump's name can be on Colorado's presidential primary ballot. And just in time, the decision comes one day before Super Tuesday, when voters in Colorado and more than a dozen other states head to the polls.
What was being argued here would have taken the world's most successful democracy and introduced this incredibly destabilizing factor that would allow states to unilaterally remove a candidate from the ballot.
I agree with them. You know, the precedent was being set for now at any point in time, regardless of the state. If you simply don't like the candidate, you find some sort of trivial mean or trivial reasoning to remove them off the ballot, preventing them from having the opportunity to decide on who they want to be president of the United States. This was a very egregious attempt at voter suppression that we saw here by these three states, Colorado, Illinois, and Maine. Very egregious attempt at voter suppression. And this is the very thing that Democrats argue that the other side, conservatives, are trying to do. They tell you that if they get in office, they're going to engage in voter suppression against you. Yet we're watching in real time these states engage in voter suppression against Donald Trump. And most importantly, not against Donald Trump, but against the citizens of each respective state. They don't respect your right for you to pick who you want to be president of the United States. They wanted to make that decision for you.
This breaking news impacting the Illinois primary election. Donald Trump will officially be on the ballot.
The Supreme Court ruled this morning on a Colorado case, all 9 justices agreeing states do not have the power to remove presidential candidates from the ballot. That ends the effort in Illinois to remove the Republican frontrunner from the March 19th primary.
ABC's Perry Russom is live in Washington, D.C. with more on that unanimous ruling. Perry.
Hey, Tanya and Terrell, this affects all of you in Illinois. This is one of the faster turnaround decisions from the Supreme Court, with arguments being heard less than a month ago. And today, Trump is calling this decision a big win for America. A day ahead of Super Tuesday, the Supreme Court unanimously ruling former President Trump can remain on the ballot. The case surrounded Colorado Supreme Court's decision to disqualify Trump from its primary ballot, citing Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. The section reads, no one who has taken an oath to support the Constitution and then engaged in insurrection can hold public office afterward. In today's decision, the justice is writing, the Constitution empowers Congress to prescribe how those determinations are made. During oral arguments last month, both liberal and conservative justices signaled skepticism over Colorado's ruling.
I think that the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States.
That is a great question that was asked by Elena Kagan. Is her last name. I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly. Kagan. For those of you who don't know, Elena Kagan is actually a Barack Obama Supreme Court appointee. So it's very good and it's refreshing to see that regardless of party lines and loyalty, the rule of law was upheld concerning the citizens of each respective state and essentially protecting the rights of all of us throughout the country, our ability to pick who we want to be president of the United States and not allow the states to make that decision for us. Hence the question she asked. I think that the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States. Well, a single state shouldn't be able to decide that. The people should be able to decide that. And it's looking like the people will be able to decide that moving forward, at least concerning the primaries. We'll see how things play out moving forward because Trump still has a couple cases on his back. So we'll see how it plays out. But at least for now, concerning the primaries, you all still have the right to vote and pick for who you want to be president of the United States.
It doesn't seem like a state call.
Today's ruling has implications nationwide, as the Secretary of State in Maine also disqualified Trump from its ballot, and a judge in Illinois ruled Trump could not be on the ballot there.
I don't think there's any way for a state to try to circumvent this ruling. At this point, any action has to be in the hands of Congress, and that's what the court said pretty clearly.
Colorado's Secretary of State posting a statement expressing disappointment, adding Colorado should be able to bar oath-breaking insurrections from our ballot.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what SALT looks like. Okay, let's get a close-up look at what SALT looks like. This is what SALT looks like in human form. The Colorado Secretary of State is extremely salty that their attempts to engage in voter suppression did not work because she feels that she has the right to determine who becomes president of the United States and that she has the right to speak on behalf of the citizens of Colorado, not the actual citizens of Colorado. They don't have the right to do that. No, she does. And it's funny enough that she would think that way about herself because it's Democrats, many of whom highlight this idea that once Trump gets into office, he's going to be a dictator and he's never going to leave the seat of the presidency. I've heard them say this multiple times over. It's crazy. That's not something that's going to happen at all. But many of them push that line and push that argument. Meanwhile, we see this woman engaging in the same type of activity, this dictator type activity where she gets to make the decisions for you and not you being able to make the decisions for yourself. So it's very good to see that the rule of law was upheld regardless of party lines in the Supreme Court with the 9-0 sweep in favor of Donald Trump, and really not in favor of Donald Trump, if we're being honest, in favor of U.S. citizens. Because once again, we should be able to pick who's president of the United States, not our local state officials. They shouldn't be able to make that decision for us. So with all that, that does it for today's news. In closing, please make sure you hit the like button on your way out, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and share this video out on your social media platforms. And lastly, if you haven't already, follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below, and it will be pinned in the comment section as well. And until the next video, peace, have a great afternoon and a safe afternoon.